Welcome to today's deep dive. We'll be exploring Maha Shivratri.
Sounds fascinating.
It's a major Hindu festival, but it goes way beyond just the religious aspects.
Right.
You'll find mythology, symbolism, even spiritual meaning sort of baked right into it.
Yeah, it's a really great way to get a taste of this tradition.
For sure. So Maha Shivratri translates to the night of Shiva, and it falls on the 14th night of the waning moon in the Hindu month of Falguna.
Okay.
That's usually around February or March for us.
So we're dealing with the night of Shiva,
Yeah,
dedicated to one of Hinduism's most powerful and complex deities.
exactly.
What makes Maha Shivratri so special? Why has it resonated with people for so long?
Well, Maha Shivratri is, it's steeped in captivating mythology and symbolism.
Okay.
Each story kind of adds another layer of meaning to the celebration.
Like peeling back layers of an onion?
Yeah, but way more interesting. So why is Maha Shivratri celebrated?
Well, you'll find that there are many captivating stories.
Yeah.
Explain the origins of Maha Shivratri.
Give me one of those stories.
Okay, one of the most popular stories is about this dramatic event, known as the churning of the ocean.
Okay.
Imagine gods and demons working together to churn a vast ocean.
Hold on, churning an ocean?
Yeah,
With what?
they were using a mountain as a turning rod.
Turning an ocean with a mountain? That's some serious cosmic power we're talking about here.
Right.
What were they trying to do?
They were after this nectar of immortality.
I see.
But, as you might imagine, things took a dark turn.
Okay, now I need to know what happened.
A deadly poison emerged from the depths.
Oh no.
It wasn't just any poison.
Right.
This stuff threatened to annihilate the entire universe.
Yikes, that's not good.
Yeah.
Talk about high stakes.
Uh-huh.
Did they have a plan B?
The gods and demons panicked.
Yeah.
It seemed like all hope was lost
Uh-huh.
until Shiva stepped in.
Oh, Shiva to the rescue.
Right.
What did he do?
Shiva, he swallowed the poison
Whoa.
to save the universe.
That is an incredible act of self-sacrifice. Talk about a hero.
Yeah.
What happened to Shiva after he drank the poison?
He survived,
Okay.
but the poison had a profound effect.
Hmm.
It turned his throat blue,
Oh, wow.
which earned him the name Neelkant,
Neelkath.
meaning blue-throated.
So this act of saving the universe, this is what people commemorate on Maha Shivratri.
Exactly. It's a celebration of Shiva's compassion and his willingness to protect everyone, even at great personal cost.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful image.
Right.
It really makes you think about the lengths someone will go to for the greater good.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling there's more to the story of Maha Shivratri, isn't there?
There is another equally significant story that adds another dimension to this festival.
Okay.
It's a story of love and devotion.
Okay, now we're talking. Tell me more.
Maha Shivratri is also believed to be the day Shiva and Parvati were married.
Really? Shiva's wedding anniversary?
Yeah,
And the day he saved the world are the same day.
it's a big day.
Talk about an epic celebration. Tell me more about Shiva and Parvati.
Parvati, the daughter of the Mountain King, was deeply in love with Shiva.
Okay.
However, Shiva at this time was in deep meditation,
Right.
completely detached from all worldly matters.
I see.
Winning his heart was no easy feat.
So how did she manage to win him over?
Parvati dedicated herself to intense spiritual practices
Okay.
and austerities for years
Wow.
to prove her love and devotion to Shiva.
Okay.
Her commitment and perseverance ultimately moved him.
Wow, that's true. Dedication, their love story must symbolize more than just romantic love, right?
Absolutely. Their union represents this fusion of male and female energies. This speaks to the balance of creation and destruction, the merging of opposites to form a complete whole.
So Maha Shivratri is about celebrating Shiva's heroic act of saving the world
Yes.
and his divine union with Parvati.
Right.
It seems like this festival has a lot to teach us about balance.
It does. The celebration encapsulates both the awe-inspiring and personal aspects of Shiva's character and mythology.
I'm ready to dive deeper.
Okay.
How is this festival actually celebrated?
That's a great question. The celebrations are just as diverse as the stories themselves.
I can only imagine, what are some of the ways people celebrate?
Fasting is a prominent practice during Maha Shivratri.
Hmm.
Many devotees abstain from all food and drink
Okay.
for the entire day and night.
That sounds like a serious commitment.
Yeah.
It must take a lot of willpower and dedication to fast for that long. What else do they do? Fasting for a whole day and night. Wow, that's intense. It really speaks to the level of devotion people have for Shiva. Are there other significant rituals associated with Maha Shivratri?
You'll see people bathing the Shiva Linga,
Right?
which is an abstract representation of Shiva, often depicted as a cylindrical stone.
Right. The Shiva Linga is one of the most recognizable symbols in Hinduism. They bathe it as a way to show their devotion.
Yes, typically with offerings like milk, water, honey,
Okay.
and even yogurt. It's a symbolic act of purification.
So these offerings, they're not just physical.
Right.
They're symbolic of something deeper, right?
Yes.
What's the meaning behind those specific items?
You're spot on. Each offering carries its own symbolism.
Okay.
For example, milk represents purity, honey represents sweetness,
Okay.
and yogurt is associated with prosperity.
It's interesting how these simple items can take on such profound meaning.
Right.
In a spiritual context, it makes you appreciate the depth of symbolism in these traditions. What about the chanting I always hear associated with Shiva?
You must be thinking of Om Namah Shivaya.
Yes.
It's one of the most sacred mantras in Hinduism.
Right.
And a central part of the celebration.
It's so calming and meditative. What's the significance of chanting it during Maha Shivratri?
People chant it throughout the night,
Okay.
believing it to be especially powerful during this time.
It's
It's seen as a way to connect with Shiva's energy
yeah.
and invoke his blessings.
Are there any other offerings or rituals that stand out? Anything unique to this particular festival?
Yes, bilva leaves, datura flowers,
Okay.
and even cannabis are traditionally offered to Shiva during Maha Shivratri.
Cannabis. Seriously. I would have never guessed.
I know, it might seem surprising,
Yeah.
but it has a long history of ritual use in Hinduism, particularly in connection with Shiva.
Okay.
It's believed to have certain properties that can enhance spiritual experiences.
It just goes to show that there's always something new to learn.
Right.
Even about traditions you think you're familiar with. What I'm really struck by is that it seems like every aspect of Maha Shivratri,
Yeah.
the stories, the rituals, the offerings,
Mm-hmm.
is imbued with layers of meaning. It's fascinating to me that this festival isn't just about outward rituals, is it?
No, it's
There's
not.
got to be a deeper message behind all of this.
Absolutely. Maha Shivratri is about so much more than just outward observances.
Okay.
It's a time for profound introspection, for connecting with your inner self,
Right.
and understanding the cyclical nature of life and the universe.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into that deeper meaning. What message does Maha Shivratri offer?
Okay.
Beyond the rituals and mythology.
At its core, it's a reminder to embrace the duality of life. Shiva, as both destroyer and protector,
Yeah.
represents this duality.
So just as Shiva represents both creation and destruction, we too must learn to accept both the good and the bad, the light and darkness within ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. And that acceptance is key. It's about recognizing that life is a tapestry,
Okay.
woven with both joy and sorrow, and that resisting this reality only creates more suffering.
That really resonates with me. We often try to fight against the natural flow of life,
Yeah.
which only leads to more pain and frustration. So how does Shiva embody both creation and destruction? I'm curious to hear more about that.
Shiva is often depicted as the cosmic dancer,
Okay,
performing the Tandava,
the 10th
a
eye.
dance that represents the cycle of creation and destruction. This dance symbolizes the continuous flow of energy in the universe,
Okay,
the constant interplay of birth, death, and rebirth.
so the destruction isn't about ending things for good.
Right.
It's about clearing the way for new beginnings.
That's a great way to put it. Think of it like clearing away the dead leaves in a garden
Okay.
to allow for new growth to emerge.
I'm starting to see how Shiva's duality is a powerful metaphor.
Right.
For the way life works, it's not about clinging to the old,
Yeah.
but about recognizing that change is inevitable and necessary for growth. But tell me more about this aspect of Shiva as a protector. How does that fit into the bigger picture?
Shiva's act of consuming the poison demonstrates his boundless compassion and his role as the protector of the universe.
Right.
It shows that even in the face of immense danger and destruction,
Yeah.
there's a force that's working to preserve and protect life.
It's like he's a symbol of resilience. In the face of adversity, it makes you wonder if the stories surrounding Maha Shivratri offer a kind of practical wisdom for navigating the complexities of life. What do you think?
I believe they do. They contain profound lessons
Okay.
about humility, detachment, and self-control.
I'm intrigued. Let's unpack those, starting with humility. How does Shiva, this powerful deity, embody humility?
Despite his immense power, Shiva is often portrayed as a simple ascetic, content with very little and focused on his inner journey.
Okay.
He doesn't seek fame or recognition.
Right.
His power comes from within.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world obsessed with external validation and material possessions.
Right.
It's a reminder to look inward for fulfillment rather than outward. What about detachment? How does Shiva embody this concept?
Shiva teaches us to detach from outcomes,
Okay.
to relinquish our need to control everything.
Yeah.
He understands that change is inevitable,
Right.
and that clinging to the past or trying to force a particular future only brings suffering.
Letting go of the need for control is definitely something I struggle with.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's easier said than done, but I can see how it would bring a sense of peace and acceptance. What about self-control? How does Shiva exemplify that quality?
Recall the story of the poison.
Okay.
Even in the face of immense danger,
Yeah.
Shiva exercised extraordinary self-control to swallow the poison
Right.
and contain its destructive power. He acted with awareness and intention
Okay.
rather than giving in to fear.
It's like he was choosing to respond
Yes.
rather than simply react. He was being deliberate and measured, even in a situation that would make most people panic.
That's precisely it.
Yeah.
And that level of self-control allows us to make wider choices, especially in challenging situations.
So Maha Shivratri is about embracing the duality of life,
Yes.
accepting the good and the bad,
Right.
and cultivating qualities like humility, detachment, and self-control.
You got it. And remember, we're only scratching the surface here.
I know there's so much more to this.
There's so much more to explore and uncover within the rich tapestry of this festival.
I'm ready to keep digging. This is fascinating stuff. What else can you tell me about Maha Shivratri?
Okay.
What other aspects make this festival so special?
One of the most intriguing elements is the all-night vigil
Okay.
that devotees observe during the celebration.
Yes, I've heard about that. Why do people stay awake all night during Maha Shivratri?
It's a symbolic act with multiple layers of interpretation.
Okay.
Practically speaking,
Yeah.
it helps devotees maintain their focus on their spiritual practice,
I see.
keeping them away from distractions.
So it's like a dedicated time to deepen their connection with Shiva,
Yes.
to immerse themselves in the spiritual energy of the festival.
You could say that it's a time for deep introspection, for connecting with the divine through chanting, meditation, and prayer.
I bet there's a mythological story behind this practice too, right? There always seems to be a fascinating story to uncover in Hindu traditions.
You're right on the mark. One story explains it through the tale of a hunter.
A hunter.
Yes.
Okay.
Who unknowingly appeased Shiva while waiting in a tree all night.
A hunter. That's interesting. What happened?
The hunter was stranded in a forest,
Okay.
waiting in a tree for prey,
All right.
unbeknownst to him.
Yeah.
This was a bilva tree,
A bilva tree.
sacred to Shiva.
So right off the bat, there's symbolism there. Remember how we discussed the bilva leaves being offered to Shiva?
Exactly. As he waited, he unknowingly dropped bilva leaves onto a Shiva linga below.
He was accidentally making an offering. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. What happened next?
Throughout the night, the restless hunter kept plucking and tossing leaves down,
Okay.
showering the Shiva linga without even realizing it.
Wow.
And to top it all off, he spilled water from his flask,
Oh no.
which also landed on the Shiva linga.
So he unintentionally performed all the key offerings, bilva leaves, water, and stayed awake all night. What a fascinating story. What happened to the hunter?
Shiva was so pleased with the hunter's unintentional devotion that he appeared before him and granted him liberation.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing outcome for just waiting in a tree. What does that story tell us about Maha Shivratri?
It emphasizes the power of intention
Okay.
and reminds us that Shiva's grace is available to all, regardless of their background or even their awareness of rituals.
It's a beautiful message of inclusivity. It's not about perfect actions or knowing all the rules.
Right.
It's about approaching the divine with sincerity and an open heart.
Exactly. And that's a message that's relevant to everyone,
Yeah.
not just those who observe Maha Shivratri.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that spirituality is about connecting with something greater than ourselves,
Yes.
regardless of our background or beliefs. So we've covered the stories, the rituals, the symbolism, the deeper meaning. Is there anything else about Maha Shivratri that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, one remarkable aspect of Maha Shivratri is its global reach.
Okay.
It transcends cultural boundaries and is celebrated by Hindu communities worldwide.
That's pretty amazing. So it's not limited to India?
Not at all. It's observed everywhere from Nepal and Sri Lanka to the United States and Europe.
That's a testament to the universal appeal of Shiva's teachings
Right.
and the power of tradition to connect people across cultures and continents. What are some of the ways this festival is celebrated in different parts of the world?
Okay.
Are there any unique traditions that stand out?
While the core elements remain the same, the way people celebrate can vary depending on the region and local customs.
Okay.
For example, in some parts of India,
Yeah.
grand processions are held with elaborate floats depicting scenes from Shiva's mythology.
That sounds incredible. Are there any other variations you find particularly interesting?
In Nepal, a large number of pilgrims gather at the Pashupatinath temple,
Okay.
one of the most sacred Shiva temples in the world.
Wow.
It's truly a sight to behold.
It's fascinating to see how this festival has evolved and adapted across different cultures, yet the core essence remains intact. It really speaks to the enduring power of tradition.
It does, and Maha Shivratri also plays a significant role in strengthening community bonds.
Okay, Koso.
It's a time when people come together to share news,
Right.
sing devotional songs, and celebrate their shared faith.
That makes sense. It's about something larger than yourself.
Yes.
About connecting with others and finding a sense of belonging.
Exactly, and that sense of community is especially important during Maha Shivratri, as it encourages people to set aside their differences and focus on their shared humanity.
I'm really struck by how this festival weaves together so many threads.
Yeah,
Personal growth, mythology, ritual, community,
it's a lot.
and a timeless spiritual message that transcends cultural boundaries.
It's a beautiful and multifaceted celebration,
Yeah.
offering something for everyone regardless of their background or beliefs.
We've talked a lot about what Maha Shivratri is.
Right.
The stories, the rituals, the meaning. But I'm curious, what does this festival inspire people to do? How do those teachings translate into action?
That's a great question. Maha Shivratri, at its core, is a call to action, an invitation to embody the very qualities that Shiva represents.
So it's not just about celebrating Shiva,
Right?
it's about becoming more like Shiva.
Yes.
About incorporating those qualities into our own lives.
Precisely. It's about cultivating inner strength, compassion, and a willingness to let go of anything that no longer serves us.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, Maha Shivratri is like a blueprint for personal transformation.
You got it.
It reminds us that we all have the potential to overcome challenges and reach our full potential.
Exactly. It's a celebration of our inherent divinity, our ability to rise above limitations and become the best versions of ourselves.
That's inspiring. But for someone who might not be familiar with Hinduism or Shiva,
Right.
how can they connect with this idea of personal transformation? It can seem a bit abstract.
You're right, but the essence of Maha Shivratri is accessible to everyone.
Okay.
No matter their background, remember, it's about embracing the duality of life.
Right.
Just as Shiva represents both creation and destruction.
So how do we make those concepts more relatable and applicable to our everyday lives?
Shiva's act of consuming the poison is a powerful symbol of overcoming negativity,
Okay.
both within ourselves and in the world around us. We all have our own inner poisons to confront
Right.
our fears, limiting beliefs, and negative thought patterns.
So it's about facing those shadows, those
Yeah.
parts of ourselves we tend to hide from or deny.
Exactly. And just as Shiva transformed the poison into something beneficial, we too can transform our challenges into opportunities for growth and self-discovery.
I'm starting to see how Maha Shivratri is about so much more than just celebrating a deity.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the potential for change and transformation within ourselves.
That's the heart of it. It's about awakening the divine spark within and recognizing our power to overcome obstacles to create a more fulfilling life.
This is really making me think about how we can apply these teachings to our daily lives. I can see how Maha Shivratri offers a wealth of wisdom that we can all benefit from,
Yes.
regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs. But what about Shiva and Parvati's marriage?
Right.
We haven't talked much about that aspect of the festival. How does that connect to personal transformation?
Their union symbolizes the harmonious merging of opposites,
Okay.
the balance of masculine and feminine energies within each of us.
Can you elaborate on that?
The masculine represents action, strength,
Okay.
and outward expression, while the feminine embodies intuition, nurturing,
Right.
and receptivity.
So it's about recognizing that we all possess both of these energies.
Yes.
Regardless of gender.
Precisely. And just as Shiva and Parvati's union created a powerful balance, we too can strive to integrate these energies within ourselves.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah,
That inner equilibrium between action and intuition, between strength and vulnerability.
exactly. When we achieve that balance, we open ourselves to a whole new level of potential, creativity,
Okay?
and wholeness.
I love that it seems like Maha Shivratri is like a roadmap to becoming our most authentic, integrated selves.
You've hit the nail on the head. It reminds us that we are whole and complete, and we have the power to create a life that reflects that truth.
We've been talking about Maha Shivratri in a pretty abstract way. I'm curious, how does all of this play out in real life?
Okay.
How do people actually integrate these teachings into their daily experiences?
That's a great question, and the answer is going to be different for everyone.
Okay?
The path of transformation is unique to each individual.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly, but there are some common threads that run through many people's experiences.
Like what?
Some people might commit to a regular meditation practice
Okay?
to cultivate stillness and connect with their inner selves.
Meditation can be such a powerful tool for self-awareness and inner peace.
Absolutely. For others, it might be about facing a fear,
Okay?
stepping outside their comfort zone,
Right.
and taking a risk that aligns with their values.
So channeling that Shiva-like courage to embrace the unknown.
Exactly. And for others, it might be about simply slowing down, becoming more mindful in their daily activities,
Yeah.
and appreciating the simple joys of life.
We do tend to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of everyday life
Right.
and forget to savor those little moments.
You're right, Maha Shivratri.
Mm-hmm.
With its emphasis on introspection and connection with the divine,
Yeah.
is a beautiful reminder to pause,
Right.
reflect,
Right.
and appreciate the present moment.
It's becoming clear that Maha Shivratri offers a wealth of wisdom that we can all apply to our lives. Whether or not we're familiar with Hinduism, but with all this talk about embracing our full potential and personal transformation,
Yeah.
how do we know if we're on the right track? What does success look like on this path?
That's a question that trips up a lot of people on their spiritual journeys.
Yeah.
We tend to get fixated on doing it right,
Right.
or achieving some external marker of success.
It's like we're always searching for that finish line,
Uh-huh.
that external validation we've arrived.
Right, but the truth is,
Yeah.
the path of transformation is an ongoing process. There's no endpoint,
Right.
no destination to arrive at.
So it's not about striving for some perfect ideal.
Not at all. It's about embracing the imperfections,
Okay.
the ups and downs, and the messy reality of being human.
That's a relief to hear. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
For sure.
It allows us to be more present in the journey itself. But how do we gauge our progress then? What are the signs that we're moving in the right direction?
One of the best indicators is a growing sense of inner peace.
Okay.
It's about feeling more aligned with your true self.
So it's more about how we feel than what we achieve externally.
Precisely. It's about cultivating a sense of inner harmony and wholeness.
Are there any other signs to look for along the way?
An increased capacity for compassion is a powerful indicator of growth.
Okay.
As you shed old patterns and limiting beliefs, you naturally become more understanding and accepting of yourself and those around you.
It makes sense that the more we understand and accept ourselves,
Right.
the more we can extend that same grace to others.
Exactly. As you move forward on this path, you'll likely notice that you're more resilient in the face of challenges,
Okay.
more able to handle life's ups and downs with grace and composure.
So the challenges don't necessarily disappear,
Right.
but we become better equipped to handle them
Yes.
with more awareness and resilience.
That's a great way to put it. You develop a deeper trust in yourself and the unfolding of your life.
I'm so glad we took this deep dive into Maha Shivratri. It's been a truly insightful exploration, but it feels like we've only scratched the surface of this incredible tradition.
You're absolutely right. There are always more layers to peel back.
Yeah.
More wisdom to uncover.
I'm ready to keep diving deeper. What else can you share about this fascinating festival?
One of the often overlooked aspects of Maha Shivratri is the connection to the cycles of nature.
Okay.
The festival falls during a time when winter is receding
Okay.
and spring is about to emerge.
So it's not just about personal transformation.
Right.
It's also about recognizing our interconnectedness with the natural world.
Precisely this time of year symbolizes renewal, rebirth,
Uh-huh.
and the potent energy of new beginnings.
It makes you think about how this festival can be seen as a celebration of life itself
Yeah.
and all its cycles and transformations.
That's a beautiful way to see it.
Yeah.
And this connection to nature deepens the meaning of the festival, reminding us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
It's a reminder to tune in to the rhythms of nature, to observe the cycles of growth and decay, and to find harmony with the world around us. I'm starting to see how Maha Shivratri offers a holistic approach to spiritual growth,
Right.
encompassing both our inner world and our connection to the wider universe.
That's a great observation. It's about understanding that true transformation happens on multiple levels,
Okay.
within ourselves, within our communities, and within the natural world.
Okay, so we've touched upon the personal and the communal aspects of Maha Shivratri.
Right.
But how does this connection to nature actually manifest in the celebrations?
In various ways, for example, some people choose to spend time in nature,
Okay.
meditating under the stars, or engaging in rituals by a river or a lake.
That sounds incredibly peaceful and grounding. Are there any specific practices that directly connect with the natural elements?
The use of bilva leaves is a good example.
Okay.
As we discussed, they're offered to Shiva during the festival.
Right.
The bilva tree itself is considered sacred, and its three-lobed leaves represent Shiva's three eyes, symbolizing his ability to see beyond the physical realm.
It's amazing how even the smallest details are imbued with symbolic meaning. It makes you appreciate the thoughtfulness and intention behind these traditions.
Exactly, and this attention to detail extends to the timing of the festival.
Okay.
The fact that it falls during the transition from winter to spring further reinforces the symbolism of renewal and transformation.
It's like Maha Shivratri aligns with the natural rhythms of the earth, reminding us to embrace change
Yeah,
and to see the potential for new beginnings,
right.
even in the darkest of times.
It's a powerful reminder that even when things seem bleak or stagnant, the possibility for renewal and growth is always present.
Yeah,
Just like nature,
right.
we too have the capacity to regenerate and emerge stronger and wiser from difficult experiences.
I'm starting to see how this festival goes beyond simply honoring Shiva.
Right.
It's about understanding and harnessing the forces of nature that exist within each of us. It's about aligning ourselves with the cyclical nature of life, embracing change,
Yeah.
and tapping into our own inner potential for growth and transformation.
That's a beautiful insight. It's about recognizing that we are both part of nature and that nature is a part of us, and that recognition can be incredibly empowering.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we are not separate from the world around us,
Right.
but intimately connected to it. It invites us to pay attention to the natural world, to learn from its cycles and rhythms, and to find inspiration in its resilience and constant transformation.
You're right on the mark, and that connection can be a source of immense strength,
Okay?
particularly when we're facing challenges in our lives.
I'm so fascinated by this idea of nature as a teacher and a source of guidance. I feel like we've only just begun to explore this aspect of Maha Shivratri. What else can you share about this connection to the natural world?
One of the most powerful aspects of this connection is the recognition of our own inherent power and potential.
Okay?
Just as nature effortlessly creates and destroys, grows and transforms,
Right.
we too possess that same creative force within us.
So it's about recognizing our own capacity for change and renewal,
Yes.
our ability to overcome obstacles and emerge stronger on the other side.
Exactly. And this power isn't something we need to seek outside of ourselves. It's already present within us, waiting to be awakened and channeled.
That's such an empowering message. But how do we tap into that power?
Okay.
How do we cultivate that same sense of effortlessness that we see in nature?
It starts with cultivating awareness. By observing nature, we can begin to understand the principles that govern its cycles and rhythms.
So it's about slowing down, paying attention to the details, and learning from the wisdom of the natural world.
Exactly. When we take the time to truly observe nature, we begin to see that there's a natural order, a flow to life that we can learn to align with.
I'm starting to see how this connection to nature can inform our approach to personal growth and transformation.
You're getting it just as a seed effortlessly sprouts and grows into a plant.
Yeah.
We too can allow our own potential to unfold naturally,
Okay.
without forcing or resisting the process.
It's about trusting the timing of our own lives, recognizing that growth takes time, and that there's a natural rhythm to our own personal evolution.
Precisely. And this trust in the process can be incredibly liberating. It frees us from the pressure of trying to control every outcome
Right.
and allows us to surrender to the flow of life.
I love that. It's about letting go of the need to micromanage every aspect of our lives.
Right.
And instead, allowing things to unfold naturally, just as they do in nature.
Exactly. And when we learn to surrender to the natural flow of life,
Yeah.
we often find that things unfold more effortlessly and gracefully than we could have ever imagined.
This conversation is making me rethink my whole approach to personal growth and transformation. It's so easy to get caught up in striving and pushing, but nature shows us that there's another way,
Right.
a way that's more aligned with the inherent wisdom of life itself.
You're getting to the heart of it. It's about recognizing that we are not separate from the natural world, but deeply interconnected with it. And that by aligning ourselves with its rhythms and cycles, we can tap into a source of wisdom and power
Right.
that can guide us on our journeys of personal and spiritual growth.
This has been such a rich and insightful exploration of Maha Shivratri. I feel like I'm looking at this festival with a whole new perspective.
I'm glad to hear that it's a testament to the depth and richness of this tradition. And remember, we're still just scratching the surface.
I know, right?
There are countless other layers of meaning and symbolism embedded within this celebration.
I'm eager to learn more. What other aspects of Maha Shivratri haven't we touched on yet?
Well, one fascinating aspect is the all-night vigil.
Okay.
a time when devotees stay awake throughout the night,
Right.
engaging in spiritual practices like chanting, meditation, and storytelling.
Yes. I've heard about the all-night vigil, but I've always wondered about the significance of staying awake all night. What's the reasoning behind that practice?
It's a symbolic act with multiple interpretations.
Okay.
On a practical level,
Mm-hmm.
staying awake helps devotees focus their minds
Right.
and resist worldly temptations.
Okay.
It's a way to create a sacred space for spiritual practices.
So it's about creating a heightened sense of awareness and intention, a way to fully immerse oneself in the spiritual energy of the festival.
Exactly. It's like a spiritual boot camp.
Okay.
A way to intensify your connection with the divine.
I like that analogy. But I'm sure there's a mythological explanation for this practice as well, right?
You're right. There is one story links the all-night vigil to the story of a hunter
Okay.
who unknowingly pleased Shiva while waiting in a tree all night.
Wait, I think you mentioned that story before.
Yeah.
The one where the hunter accidentally made offerings to Shiva?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
This story is often cited as a justification for the practice of staying awake throughout the night. It's believed that by emulating the hunter's unintentional devotion,
Uh-huh.
we can receive Shiva's blessings.
It's interesting how this single story can hold such a powerful message
Right.
and inspire a specific practice during the festival. It makes you think about the interconnectedness of storytelling, ritual, and belief. Expert speaker. It sounds like Shiva's appeal lies in his ability to hold those contradictions, those paradoxes that we all grapple with in our own lives.
That's precisely it. He's not afraid to show his vulnerabilities, his flaws, his wildness. And in doing so, he teaches us that it's okay to be fully ourselves,
Yeah.
with all our complexities and contradictions.
It's like he's giving us permission to embrace our own messy, imperfect humanity.
Exactly. He reminds us that we don't have to strive for some unattainable ideal of perfection. True power comes from accepting ourselves as we are with all our strengths and weaknesses.
I'm starting to see how Shiva's character can be such a source of inspiration, especially in a world that often pressures us to conform to certain standards and expectations.
He encourages us to break free from those limitations and to embrace our individuality. He reminds us that true freedom comes from within, from aligning with our authentic selves.
This conversation has given me a much deeper appreciation for Shiva and the profound wisdom embedded within his mythology. But, as we wrap up our deep dive, I can't help but wonder if Shiva represents overcoming challenges and embracing duality. How can we apply those lessons to our own lives? What does that look like in practice?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one that each individual will answer in their own unique way. There's no single right answer because the journey of transformation is as individual as we are.
Of course. But are there any specific practices or mindsets we can cultivate to help us embody those Shiva-like qualities?
Absolutely. One powerful practice is to cultivate a mindful awareness of our thoughts and emotions. Just as Shiva observed the world with a sense of detachment, we can learn to observe our inner landscape without judgment.
So it's about creating space between ourselves and our reactions, becoming very conscious of our patterns and habits.
Precisely, this awareness allows us to choose how we respond to challenges rather than simply reacting impulsively.
That makes sense, but how do we deal with those poisons, those negative thoughts and emotions that inevitably arise? Do we try to suppress them?
Shiva teaches us to embrace the darkness as well as the light. Instead of trying to push away those difficult emotions, we can learn to acknowledge them with compassion and understanding.
So it's about accepting that we're not perfect, that we all have our shadows.
Exactly, and by accepting those parts of ourselves, we can begin to transform them. It's about recognizing that even our so-called negative emotions can teach us valuable lessons if we're willing to listen.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. It's about recognizing the wholeness of our being, the light and the dark. But what about Shiva's courage? How can we be more courageous in our own lives? What does that look like on a practical level?
Courage often arises from a deep connection to our values. When we're clear about what truly matters to us, what we stand for, we're more likely to take risks and step outside of our comfort zones.
So it's about aligning our actions with our deepest beliefs, even when it feels scary or uncertain.
Precisely. And remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's about acting in spite of fear. It's about choosing to move forward even when we feel afraid.
Okay, that's really empowering. It's a reminder that we all have the capacity for courage within us. But, with all this talk about overcoming challenges and embracing duality, I'm starting to wonder, what about the joys of life? Where does celebration fit into all of this?
That's a wonderful question, and it's an essential part of the equation. Shiva reminds us that life is a dance, a continuous cycle of creation and destruction, joy and sorrow. It's all interconnected.
So it's about finding balance, embracing both the light and the dark, the highs and the lows, and celebrating the beauty of each moment, even in the midst of challenges.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the challenges we face are often what lead us to the greatest joys. It's about learning to appreciate the full spectrum of human experience.
That's such a beautiful reminder, and I think it's the perfect note to end our deep dive on.
I agree. Maha Shivratri invites us to live fully, to embrace all aspects of ourselves and our experiences, and to find joy in the journey of transformation.
So well said. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling incredibly inspired. This deep dive has been a true gift.
It's been a pleasure exploring this rich tradition with you, and I hope our listeners feel equally inspired to delve deeper into the wisdom of Maha Shivratri and discover its relevance in their own lives.
Yes, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep celebrating the incredible journey of life.
And remember, as Shiva reminds us, you have the power to create a life filled with meaning, purpose, and joy.
Until next time, keep diving deep.